So these are the 3 steps involved in transcription. Once the transcript is formed, okay, the RNA coming out, okay, it is called as primary transcript. After the formation of primary transcript, it will undergo several modifications. That is called as post-transcriptional modification. Okay, the modification that is happening after transcription is called as post-transcriptional modification. So these are the things that we are going to see now. First, what are the enzymes needed for this transcription? Polymerase, because it is synthesizing DNA. There are 3 types of RNA polymerases: RNA polymerase 1, RNA polymerase 2, and RNA polymerase 3. So RNA polymerase 1 is involved in synthesis of rRNA, and RNA polymerase 2 is involved in mRNA synthesis, and RNA polymerase 3 is involved in tRNA synthesis. So there are specific RNA polymerases. So RNA polymerase is involved in synthesis of rRNA, whereas 2 is involved in mRNA and 3 is involved in tRNA synthesis, right? So we are going to see about bacterial RNA polymerase. Okay, 2 zinc molecules attached to this because RNA polymerase activity requires zinc. If there is no zinc, there will not be transcription. Okay. So next we see about initiation. So for initiation, the DNA is very vast, right? There are several nucleotide sequences. The RNA polymerase should know where to start the synthesis of that RNA, right? So how will it get the signal that it has to start the synthesis of this RNA from this point? That signal is given by specific areas of the DNA acting as starting signals. Okay. If you remember the replication, there is a start site called as OREC in case of bacteria. So that OREC is the start site for replication, right? Similarly, the starting site for the transcription is, there are several regions. Okay. Those regions, the RNA polymerase goes and binds and starts replication. So the RNA polymerase attached to a region called as promoter site, which is present on the template strand. We'll see what is it. Will we see about template strand and non-template strand? What is template strand? A template strand is a strand on which the base, which is acting as a base on which the RNA is going to get synthesized. Okay, if you see replication, the template strand is the one on which the new daughter RNA is synthesized, right? Okay, similarly, the strand on which a new RNA is going to get synthesized is called as the template strand. So what will be the nature of the template strand? It will be complementary to the RNA synthesized. So for example, if adenine is present on the template strand, what will be there in the RNA? Uracil will be present. If the guanine is present in the template strand, cytosine will be present on the RNA. So they are complementary to each other. So template strand is complementary to the RNA sequence. Whereas the other side of the DNA. So DNA have 2 strands. One strand is acting as the template strand on which new RNA is synthesized, right? If you see the other strand, definitely it is going to be complementary to the template strand, right? So definitely it is similar to the RNA that is synthesized, except the thing that instead of thymine, uracil will be present. So that is why the complementary strand to the DNA is called as this coding strand. Have you all understood? What is a template strand and a coding strand? Students? Are you all there?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to understand what? Yeah. What is a template strand and a coding strand? If you want, I can show you a diagram. Coding strand. See here it is complementary. Adenine, thymine, thymine, adenine. Complementary to each other. So this is the original strand. It has adenine, thymine. Complementary to this, here it is thymine, adenine, guanine, cytosine, which is complementary to it. So this is called as the template strand, and the complementary strand is called as a coding strand. Why is it called as coding strand? Because if the RNA is synthesized from this template strand, and see the so cytosine guanine, guanine cytosine, cytosine guanine, guanine cytosine, thymine adenine, adenine uracil. Okay, so if you see the base sequence of the complementary strand of the template strand and the RNA that is synthesized, see, they are similar to each other. A, G, C, G, C, A. Instead of thymine, uracil will be there. So that's why the complementary strand of the template strand is called as a coding strand. Okay. Which is on the left side of the start site is called as upstream sequence, whereas the region which is on the right side, which is on the right side of this is called as downstream sequence. So if you see upstream by 10 nucleotides upstream from this start site. So if it is upstream means definitely we are going to mention it as minus, right? So 10 nucleotides have 10 nucleotides upstream from the start site, there is a presence of a region called as Tata box. What is Tata box? It is rich in thymine adenine, TA, TAA, TAA, AAT. So it is rich in TA sequence. So we call it as Tata box, which is present in the -10 region or upstream by 10 nucleotides from the start site. Okay, and one more region is there, is called as -35 sequence. So it is 35 sequence, 35 nucleotides ahead or 35 nucleotides upstream from the start site. So these regions are called as promoter region. So when our RNA polymerase scanning through the DNA, if it comes across this -35 sequence, which is having this TTGACA region, and any sequence which is having TTAT, this Tata box sequence, then it recognizes, the RNA polymerase recognize that after 10 nucleotide after this, I have to start the synthesis of RNA. So this promoter region is the one which is telling the RNA polymerase that it should start transcription 10 nucleotides after the Tata box. It is the start site. Okay. Yeah. So promoter regions are the regions which are going to tell the RNA polymerase where to start the transcription. These promoter regions, usually they are present upstream. They are present on the left hand side of the start site. Okay, we mention it as upstream, and we are mentioning it is the minus nucleotide number. Okay, so this Tata box is located 10 sequence up, 10 nucleotide upstream from the start site. And another region called as GACA region, which is present 35 nucleotides ahead of the or upstream of the start site. Okay, so these are the things you have to know. So what is a promoter region that is present in eukaryotic DNA? Similar to the Tata box, there is a region called as Hogness box, which is present 20 to 30 nucleotides upstream from the start site. And one more box is there, which is called as CAT box, which is present around 70 nucleotides upstream from the start site. So it is mentioned as -70. So this Hogness box, also called as Tata box, is present 20 to 30 nucleotides upstream, and the CAT box is present 70 nucleotides upstream. So these are the promoters, some example of promoters present in eukaryotes. Okay. Next, many other regulating sequences are present. They are called as enhancers and silencers. So what are enhancers? Enhancers are nucleotide sequences present in the DNA. If these sequences are present, they will either increase the rate of transcription or decrease the rate of transcription. So enhancers increase the rate of transcription, whereas silencers decreases the rate of transcription. Okay, silencer sequences that decrease the rate of transcription, whereas enhancers increase the rate of transcription. So what are the other regulatory signals of transcription? HRE means hormone responsive element. Okay, certain hormones, if you remember the glucocorticoids and several glucocorticoids, all the, what to say, sex hormones, all those hormones, what they do, they have a hormone response element because they are lipid soluble, right? They can easily pass through the membrane, go to the inside the nucleus, and in the nucleus they bind with the region called as hormone responsive element. This hormone, what they do, for example, let me say glucocorticoid. What it does, glucocorticoids has a receptor in the cytoplasm. Okay, because glucocorticoid is lipid in nature, directly the glucocorticoid can pass through the cell membrane and goes to the cytoplasm where it binds to its receptor. This glucocorticoid receptor, bound glucocorticoid, enters into the nucleus. And in the nucleus, what it does, it goes and binds to a certain region called as hormone responsive elements. So if it goes and binds to the hormone responsive element, the rate of transcription is increased. So that is what the significance of this steroid hormones. What they have a hormone responsive element in the DNA. So the hormone responsive elements are nothing but DNA sequences which binds to the hormone at its receptor. So if it goes and binds to it, the rate of transcription is increased. Okay. Then similarly, repressors. We have seen about certain repression, mechanism of repression. Insulin represses this hormone. Glucagon represses this hormone. This enzyme. Glucagon represses this enzyme. All those things we have seen. For example, let me say. Any example? For example, let me take cholesterol biosynthesis. The rate limiting enzyme is HMG-CoA reductase. Okay. This HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, it is it's induced. It is induced by insulin, whereas this enzyme is repressed by glucagon. So glucagon represses this enzyme, whereas insulin induces this enzyme. So what it does, the insulin goes and binds to the transcription factors or any other factors which can increase the rate of transcription of this HMG-CoA reductase. So it acts as an inducer. Whereas glucagon goes and binds to certain other proteins which will go and bind to the RNA polymerase. It decreases the rate of transcription. So it is called as repressor. So the hormones can act as either inducers or repressors. They act at the level of the gene. That much you have to know. De-repressors are substances which can remove the repression. Such substances are called as de-repressors. Have you understood all those things? What we have discussed so far: enhancers, silencers, hormone responsive element, repressors and inducers. Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next we move on to so what happens in initiation? So initiation, we need certain region called as promoter regions where RNA polymerase should bind, right? So if you have understood this basic concept, now we are going to see how initiation starts. So the DNA helix partly unbinds. RNA polymerase binds to the promoter site with the help of the Rho factor. We have seen the DNA polymerase has 4 subunits: alpha, alpha dash, beta, beta dash, and another extra factor called as Rho factor. Okay, binds to the promoter site with help of Rho factor. What the Rho factor does? Because the DNA, it is a double stranded, they are linked together by hydrogen bond, right? What the Rho factor does, it removes the hydrogen bond between the two strands. Okay, so it unbinds. So the Rho factor removes the hydrogen bond and unbinds the 2 strands of the DNA. Okay, so the function of the Rho factor is to remove the separate the 2 strands. Otherwise, to separate the 2 strands. So the RNA polymerase goes and binds to the promoter site and it starts transcription. One more thing that you need to know is this transcription does not require a template. Does not require a primer. If you remember replication, a primer is needed for the synthesis of both leading strand and lagging strand. Whereas for a transcription, there is no need for primer. Directly, once it recognizes the start state, it starts synthesizing the RNA. Okay, so this is about initiation. So what you have understood about initiation? RNA polymerase goes and binds to the promoter region. The Rho factor, which is bound to the RNA polymerase, unbinds the 2 strands of DNA. Now that no primer is needed. So directly, once it recognizes the start site, the RNA is getting incorporated complementary to the template strand. Okay. Now elongation. RNA polymerase moves along the DNA template. New nucleotides are incorporated in the nascent mRNA according to the base pairing rules. We know the base pairing rules. If adenine is present in the template strand, uracil will be added. If guanine is present, cytosine will be added. If cytosine is present, guanine will be added. Okay. If thymine is present, adenine will be added. So all those things. So it will follow based on the base pairing rule, new nucleotides are added, are getting incorporated into the nascent mRNA with the help of RNA polymerase. Okay. So during the transcription, because the two strands are unwound and many transcription factors are bound to that region, it looks like a bubble. We call it as transcription bubble. Okay, so the transcription bubble is made up of RNA polymerase, DNA and nascent RNA. Nascent RNA is nothing but a newly synthesized part of the RNA. Okay, then DNA helix unwinds downstream. I told you what is downstream. If it is moving on the right side, we call it as downstream. So the DNA helix unwinds downstream and winds up upstream. Upstream means, winds up upstream means, so on one side the DNA is getting unwound. So once the RNA polymerase has finished synthesizing the RNA, so the upstream element is getting wound again. Okay, if it cannot remain separated for longer duration, right? So if one part of the DNA get unwinds, the upstream part gets winded up. Okay, so RNA polymerase has no exonuclease activity, but the mistakes in transcription is 10 power 4 times more than that of the replication. But even if the mistakes are there, it's not harmful. Why? Because if the RNA is having wrong nucleotides in it, what will happen? The RNA will get degraded. So no harm in that. Okay, only DNA replication is it should be synthesized with high fidelity. Otherwise, the wrong information will be transferred to the progeny. Okay, right? That will affect the progeny. Whereas RNA, the mistakes are allowed, because even if there is a mistake in the RNA, that RNA will get degraded. So no problem. Okay. So this is about elongation. Have you all understood elongation and initiation? Students? Students, are you all there? Yeah. Next one is termination. So we have seen that there is a factor called as sigma factor, which is needed for the initiation. Did I tell rho in the initiation? Sorry, I made a mistake, I think. Sigma factor. This factor is called a sigma factor. Whereas for termination, we need another factor called as rho factor. Okay. So termination takes place by two mechanisms. One is rho dependent mechanism and rho independent mechanism. What is rho dependent mechanism? The rho factor is a protein. When it goes and binds to the RNA, which is synthesized, what it does? It goes and binds to the DNA. It prevents further movement of RNA polymerase. Further movement of RNA polymerase. It goes and acts as a block. It goes and binds between the two strands of the DNA, this rho factor, and prevents further movement of the RNA. It helps in the releasing of the RNA from the DNA strand. Okay, this is called as rho dependent termination. And one more type of termination is present there, that is called as rho independent termination. So how does rho independent termination takes place? The transcript forms a stable hairpin turn complementary to DNA palindrome sequence, which prevent progression of RNA polymerase. So the RNA which is synthesized, a part of the RNA will be complementary to the other part of the RNA. So what they will do? They go and bind to each other. If they are complementary to each other, what will happen? They'll go and bind to each other and they form a hairpin-like bend. Okay, stable hairpin-like bend. Okay, which will prevent the progression of RNA polymerase. So if they are forming a hairpin-like bend, the RNA polymerase will be getting stuck in between the two hairpin bends, right? So what will happen? RNA polymerase cannot further move. So there occurs termination of transcription. Okay. So these are two mechanisms of termination. One is rho dependent, another one is rho independent termination. Okay. What is palindrome? Palindrome is if you are reading it from both the sides, it will be given same meaning. That is called as palindrome. So region of DNA in which both the strands read the same in 5' to 3' direction, and it is called as palindrome. Okay. Then we have come to the end of the transcription. So we have seen about transcription. It involves 3 steps: initiation, elongation, and termination. Initiation is by RNA polymerase. It goes and binds to the start site of the promoter region, and it moves towards the start site, and the unwinding of the 2 strand is done by sigma factor, okay, which is bound to the RNA polymerase. Then elongation of the RNA strands is based on the base pairing rule, okay. So new strands are synthesized. And finally, termination. Termination is of 2 types: row dependent and row independent. In row dependent termination, a factor, a protein called as row, we call it as row factor, it goes and binds to the DNA. Okay, so it goes and binds to 2 strands of the DNA and prevent further movement of RNA polymerase. So what will happen? Since it is preventing the movement of RNA polymerase, the RNA polymerase gets detached from the DNA, and also the RNA which is synthesized also getting detached from the DNA. So the RNA is released. And in case of row independent mechanism, what happens? The sequence of the RNA that is synthesized, certain region will be complementary to the other region. So what will happen? They go and form a bend. Okay, the hairpin like bend is formed. So the RNA polymerase gets stuck between the bend, and it prevents the movement of RNA polymerase. So what will happen? There occurs termination of the RNA synthesis. Okay. Then finally, post the RNA will be cleaved up. That is called as endonuclease. Okay. So what it does, it cleaves off the certain regions of the RNA, which is mRNA or RNA or tRNA. Okay, then poly-A tailing, that is called as 5' capping and poly-A tailing. What is 5' capping? In the 5' region of the mRNA that is formed, a GTP molecule is added. So this GTP molecule, when it goes and binds to the 5' region, what happens? It prevents the degradation of the mRNA. It gives stability to the RNA. Similarly, at the 3' end, several adenine nucleotides are added. It is called as poly-A tailing. Okay, so by adding a 5' capping and poly-A tailing, it prevents the mRNA from degradation by the action of several endonucleases. Okay, where several nucleases will be present in the cytoplasm, right? They'll come and easily degrade this form. So, and a poly-A. Okay, so what are the other different modification, post-transcriptional modification? These are undergoing methylation. Yeah. See here, and what are the other modification? Methylation, removal of introns, and splicing of exons. Can you play me now? So see here, this is the original transcript. Let us consider this brown and white colored regions together form the primary transcript. In this, the white colored regions, okay, these are unwanted nucleotide sequences. Let us consider some signaling sequence present in the DNA. I told you about enhancers, silencers. So those are those nucleotides present here that are not needed for the actual mRNA. Okay, so we have to remove those unwanted regions of the mRNA. So these interfering sequences which does not code for the mRNA are called as introns, or interfering nucleotide sequences which does not code for the RNA are called as introns. Whereas the sequences which codes for the actual active mRNA or mature mRNA are called as exons. So what we have to do, we have to remove the introns and we have to splice together the exons. So what we have to do? We have to remove the unwanted introns and we have to join the actually needed exons. That is what is happening in the post-transcriptional modification. See here, these are the introns. White colored regions are the introns. So this is a primary transcript. I told you the one that is synthesized from the DNA is called as the primary RNA transcript. So which is made up of both introns and exons. Okay, entry into the chain causing termination. Okay. So we have some other type of enzymes we call as ribozymes. Usually we know that enzymes are protein in nature, but RNA also has enzymatic activity. That is what they are called as ribozymes. The splicing, I told you splicing is happening, removal of introns and splicing together of introns that are not done by certain proteins. They are done by the RNA itself. So the RNA itself is having enzymatic activity. That is called as ribosome. So enzymes with RNA are called as ribozymes. Okay, example is spliceosomes, RNA polymerase P, and peptidyl transferase. All these enzymes, they have a RNA in the proteins, whereas this spliceosome complex, they have the RNA itself is having the enzymatic activity. Okay, what are reverse transcriptase? Certain RNA viruses that are present, they cannot get incorporated into the DNA of our body because our DNA is made up of deoxynucleotides. But RNA viruses, they have their genetic material as RNA, right? So what they do, they have an enzyme called as reverse transcriptase. So what it does, this reverse transcriptase, what it does, it converts. Normally, what transcriptase do? They convert DNA into RNA, right? Whereas this reverse transcriptase, they convert RNA into DNA. So based on the nucleotide sequence present in the RNA virus, this reverse transcriptase will synthesize a DNA. That is the significance of this reverse transcriptase. So retroviruses. What are retroviruses? Retroviruses are viruses which have RNA as their genetic material. Those RNA viruses contains enzymes called as reverse transcriptase. What they do? So before getting incorporated into the DNA of any host organism, it has to convert its DNA, its material, RNA material into DNA. Okay, that is a function of this reverse transcriptase. Example are several oncogenic viruses. What are oncogenic viruses? Viruses causing cancer. They are having RNA as a genetic material, and several HIV, tumor virus. Okay, they all have RNA as a genetic material. So RNA acts as a template and RNA dependent DNA polymerase. So reverse transcriptase is RNA dependent DNA polymerase, which will make the DNA strand, and that DNA will get incorporated into the host animal. Okay, so with that we are finishing transcription.